Hey, hello, welcome to another episode of The Flow Chats, a relatively free-form, casual interview podcasts, back in English, this time after a few Afrikaans episodes. Today, here's an interview I had with Garth Barnes, frontman of CrashCarBurn. I first heard of Garth when he was in a band called Tweak many years ago. And after that, came and went, they started a new band called CrashCarBurn. CrashCarBurn is launching a new album today. This podcast comes out on the 6th of April 2018. The album, called Headlights, comes out on the 6th of April 2018. I love the album cover. I know podcast isn't a visual medium, but I'm looking at it right now, and it features a photograph of a car burning, a burning wreck of a car, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, dark orange fire and a car. Yeah, it's something they've never really done before, but they seem to have embraced the car and burn imagery in their band name. The first single of the album, Summer Forever, has been out for a couple of weeks now. There's a cute little music video on YouTube. Go check it out. But first, here's my conversation with Garth Barnes.
That is amazing. The power of a guitar is like, I reckon you could get into 9 out of 10 festivals very easily if you just brought a guitar in a case and walked with conviction. Like, you never get stopped if you're carrying some piece of equipment. Like.
Yeah, and I mean, that's another thing is I play some music, a sort of a solo folk kind of vibe. Cool. And whenever I get to a venue where I'm playing, I've got a bunch of things in the car, and the first thing I take out is the guitar.
Yes.
Because I want to walk in there and everyone immediately knows what I'm here for, who I'm looking for.
That legitimizes you.
Yeah, and it just, instead of walking up to people going like, oh, where am I supposed to be?
Yeah.
Automatically someone walks up to you and go, oh,
yeah.
There's where you want to be.
So actually, even though you make 10 trips back to the car, you're still carrying your guitar so that everyone knows you make 10 trips rather than 5 because now you're carrying a guitar. No,
and it's similar to the idea of getting a black t-shirt that says security or crew.
Yes. Nobody questions that. It's ridiculous.
And I've had the same thing with a camera. If you've got a proper camera, and especially at like club shows, at gigs, people just let you walk to the front.
Where was it the other day? Oh, that guy, he made it all the way into Conor McGregor's change room when they were having that whole Mayweather fight, just by walking confidently and blagging his way in there. So there's a lot to be said with walking confidently.
Yeah, and it's the same as I've heard about sort of at the office. If you don't have anything to do at work, just walk around with purpose, with speed,
with
as if you're going somewhere.
And carry papers, and you
and people will just not question you. But okay, so back to music.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in a sort of musical house at all? What was your parents'
Not really.
relationship
Yeah, I
with
mean,
music?
my dad. The only kind of musical pedigree that I have, I guess, is my dad. Played in a band with Cindy from Clout, who actually just did a reunion thing at Splashy. I don't know if you saw that thing. So yeah, he played in that band, but he was basically a backing vocalist, and I think he played a shaker or something like that. And it wasn't a very long career.
Yeah.
But no, then my mother's completely tone deaf on all levels. So it really only came to, I only really discovered music pretty late, towards the end of matric. So like I said, I was kind of in the choir, but in high school. But the first time we ever jammed in a band was the end of matric. So the last kind of dying days of matric when we jammed together. So for me, I think that's quite a late discovery. I knew lots of people who were playing guitar in school and whatever.
Yeah.
And
to me, at least, Tweak felt very much like a high school band kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, and I mean, we all kind of look very young, and it's So I think people always thought that we were a lot younger than we were. Of course, my brother was always sort of 5 years younger than the rest of us.
Wow.
But we all had kind of baby faces, and it gave us the impression of being even younger than. I mean, we were young, but not in school when Tweak was doing really well. So yeah, I guess. But also, music keeps you young. So there's kind of a running joke in the industry that I might be a vampire. But I'm getting grey hairs now, like proper for the first time. There's a lot of grey in here. My natural color masks are quite nicely. But yeah, one day I'm just gonna drop dead, and then I'll be able to tell Gareth Wilson to stop giving me a hard time about not aging.
So did Tweak officially end? Was there a breakup kind of, or?
Just kind of our guitarist left sort of around 2004. He was like, "Cool guys, I'm done with this band." So we were like, "Okay, well." And at that stage, like anyone who's in South Africa, in a band in South Africa will understand, like you get to this kind of like frustrating point where you feel like you've done everything you can do in this country. There's only so many venues, there's only so many festivals, and we started to kind of get itchy, and it's like we needed something else. So Mike left the band, and then we were like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? We've kind of done the circuit as many times as we can in South Africa. Why don't we go overseas and see? It's a classic. You've seen it in every single band.
Yeah.
That's it's like it's inevitable if you've been going for a certain amount of time that this is going to happen. So we're like, cool, let's go and check it out overseas. And then we went to the UK, and we just we started in the beginning trying to do Tweak in the UK, and then we were just like, guys, we need to just make a completely fresh start. We've got a new guitarist now. Like everything's different here. The whole scene was changing. So we're like, let's just scratch everything and start from fresh, as alongside all these other bands that are starting from nothing, and see how it goes. Which is a hectic thing to do. I mean, we were, as Tweak, we were doing, really well in South Africa. We were playing packed venues, big shows. And then we literally went to London and started from the beginning, playing to empty clubs, like empty clubs, So it was a hectic thing to do, and it was taxing on us. But by the end of our time in London, things were really looking great. I mean, we just recorded as CrashCarBurn, so we started from scratch. And by the time we left London, we played our last show was sold out, and we just recorded with the guys that had done Funeral for a Friend and like bands that were massive at the time. So we had literally everything going for us, and then our visas ran out. So I was like, okay, cool, let's go back home.
I've also heard that story elsewhere.
So I mean, not that we're sad that it brought us back home. We love South Africa, and this is our home. So, but you can't help but wonder what might have happened if we just had another 2 years. But anyway, that's the way it goes, and I can't even remember what the question was in the beginning, if there was one.
Yeah, but we're on CrashCarBurn now.
Yeah. So I still remember, like, we were so broke in London that we couldn't even afford public transport. So we stole, or borrowed, should I say, trolleys from the supermarket, and we would literally push our amps and drum kits and everything to the gigs. Like we would walk. So imagine walking from here to, I don't know, Rosebank or Sandton. Like literally walk for 2 hours, and then after we play, walk home. So I mean, coming from having our own band van and like backstage riders and all that stuff to that level of hustling was like quite a serious come down for us. But at the same time, we were just, we wanted to make music and we were hungry for it. So yeah.
So CrashCarBurn was not only a new member in the band, but also sort of a slightly different direction then.
Yeah, scratched all the old songs, wrote completely new material. A new band member. And I mean, like Tweak was amazing. Tweak was super fun. And like, we've done a couple of reunion gigs since then, and they've been crazy fun. But it was like, it was exactly that. It was like a fun band, We didn't think too hard about it. We just wrote whatever. We just sang whatever. And that there's something, you know, super liberating, and it really takes the pressure off when you don't think too hard about it. Whereas CrashCarBurn, I think, is a lot more considered. You know, you spend a lot more time crafting songs and lyrics and things like that. And ironically, it's never done commercially anywhere near to as well as we do. But you know, like that's where we were as people. You know,
Yeah.
when Tweak started, we were teenagers.
Yeah.
And now we're talking 5 years on, you're sort of mid-20s, and especially at that time in your life, 5 years is a long time. You know, you're a completely different person. So we we just weren't those same guys with the same things to sing about as Tweak. So hence the change was, you know, kind of about that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then somewhere along the line, you kind of made music your career.
Yeah. So when we were in, look, when Tweak was doing well, we were doing it full time. So when I say career, or when you say career, we were making enough money to literally live, eat, drink beer, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like, so career is probably not we were surviving on music, which there's no small feat in this country, you know. It's tough to be in a band in South Africa. It's probably even tougher now than it was back then. But yeah, we were making money off being a band. We didn't have other jobs and whatever. And then when we moved to the UK, obviously that was no longer an option. So we were working 9 to 5s and doing the band, you know, at night and on the weekends. So, but in CrashCarBurn, we've never done it solely as a career, i.e. for money. Like,
yeah.
And to an extent, I'm really grateful for that, because as soon as you, and you can say what you like, but as soon as your survival and money depends on your music, I don't care what band you are, it's going to have like an impact on what you do. Because now you're not just doing this thing because you enjoy it. You're not just playing shows because you like playing live. You're playing because you have to. You're putting out albums because you have to. And I've seen that take a lot of bands and like end a lot of bands. Especially here where the pickings are so slim, you know. If you're in America or Europe or whatever, you've just got it's a numbers game. There's so many more people listening to live music. There's more venues. There's more you can do. But in South Africa, it's really tough unless you like the Parlotones or Prom Circle or one of those really big bands. And even them, man, I'm sure that they struggle and they think about, you know, how many years do we have left? Because it's one thing to survive off a band and make a little bit of money, but to think about things like pension and houses and cars, you know, when you get to a certain age, it's like, it's difficult. It's really tough.
Yeah. Yeah. You need some kind of exit plan or
like somewhere to...
Or next step.
Yeah. So fortunately, to an extent, I've managed to find another way to kind of keep involved in music with the studio and whatnot. But to do music as a band, like, is incredibly tough. Like you got to at least try overseas, try and make it happen there. Like yeah,
and it feels to me like there's a literal handful of people who managed to do that. And
kudos to them, man, because I know what.
But I also feel like that's probably the capacity the country's got. Is like to support the Van Cokes and the Parlotones and whatever, and anyone above that's just not gonna have enough of an audience because and again people spend all their money on Van Cokes.
Yeah, exactly, and it's demographics as well. You know, like. There's a certain amount of Afrikaans people that will listen to Van Coke. There's a handful of people that enjoy rock music. You know, if you're into one of those niche genres, like urban or hip hop or whatever, or like Afrikaans specific music, then there's actually a lot more scope for survival. But if you look at the kind of music we make. There's not a lot of people that are into that.
And then it's again is I think if you're dependent on your music for survival, then you'd probably cater to the market.
Yeah, and I've heard
you're not doing it.
You know, no. And I hear bands all the time that like, I don't want to mention names, but that have literally changed their sound completely over the years, depending on what is current. So there's one particular band that I always think of that they started out ska, then they went punk, then they went indie, and now they basically sound like the Chainsmokers. So like whatever happens, they kind of follow, and I think people see through that. Like as much as we haven't been, you know, as so there's where Tweak was lucky, is that was the right kind of sound at the right time, which is great, and that's why Tweak, rather than Raw Talent or anything like that, we were just right place, right time.
Yeah.
Right? But if you and if you're trying to follow a trend, I think people can see that, like, and you might have a song that does okay on radio, but you're going to struggle to get any kind of loyal fan base, I think, if you're constantly chopping and changing like what you do. So what we've always been really proud of, even though maybe it hasn't been the most commercially successful strategy, is like, this is our CrashCarBurn sound, and up until now we've stuck to that, like, you know, we've stuck to our guns, and we're like, well, this is what we do, and this is what if we tried anything else, it would probably fall flat anyway. So yeah, like I said, up till now, I think the new album's a little bit different, but
okay. So speaking of your like recordings and your releases, you did smaller releases. I think like it's been a while since you've done an album.
Yeah, it's been a long time. The last full length album, and yes, we're shocked every time we think about this, was in 2012. So like 6 years ago. So it's not like we haven't done anything since then. We did what we did for a long time, and I think this has been a bit of a trend in the industry, is singles. You know, releasing instead of a full length album, release singles. And one of the big reasons for that is, you know, everybody's works, and it gets harder and harder to get everyone to be able to commit like a serious chunk of time to recording an album, whereas singles are a lot more manageable. And also that's kind of the way people are consuming music at the moment. You know, people don't download albums like they used to. They're like, oh, that's the new Kings of Leon single, let's go download that, and then, you know, if you're lucky, they download the album, but you know, it's on a single basis. So administratively, it's a lot easier for us to write and record a single and release that, and write and record another single. And we did have, I think it's like 8 or 10 singles between, you know, in the space where we haven't released an album.
So this is also probably about an album's worth.
And we were tempted to be like, well, why don't we just take these songs and lump them together and put that out, you know? But the problem with singles is you always, it's got to be a single, so it's got to be like, it's got to have instant appeal to people. Whereas if you're writing an album, you put together a bunch of songs, and on there's going to be some songs that maybe you don't have instant appeal, but they're growers, you know. So by the end of a couple of listens, like, that's actually your favorite song, but it would never be a radio single or something that people would download after the first listen. So what we found when we were doing singles, that you miss out on those little gems, you know. So we wanted to sit down and be like, cool, let's do a full album, something that we can physically print, although that's like an archaic concept these days. I hope it makes a comeback, by the way. Like,
are you printing?
Yeah, we've printed. I don't know if I want to show you. Damn, I left them all at the band room. But yeah, I love to hold a CD, see this physical artwork, like read the lyrics, and, you know, I got to believe there's some people out there that would still want to do that with a CrashCarBurn album. So we decided to print albums, and like, very selfishly, because, you know, one day I want to be able to show my kids, like, this is what your dad did, or whatever, you know, or go and flip through that. Whereas if you have it on your computer or an iPod or whatever, if anyone still has iPods, like, that thing gets lost or stolen. You know, I don't have any music from 5 years ago. It's all gone. You upgrade your phone, and sure, you can go and download it again, but it's like, you don't. Whereas if you have a CD collection or a vinyl collection, it's like, that thing is there, it's sitting in your rack, and you can pull that out and have a listen.
I also think there's something about the physical space it takes up that is valuable in terms of just the shelf space or whatever, where you store your CDs, and if you run out of shelf space, you have to make a decision about which CDs you get rid of, or put in a box or something.
Or try and buy an old CD rack on eBay because they're making them.
But yeah, I mean, I think that sort of it definitely
tangible.
has value.
It's tangible,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by those kind of changes because also it's happening super fast. The change from like album to single and from physical to digital.
Yeah, and streaming and all that stuff, and you know.
Yeah, especially streaming in the last like 2 or 3 years in South Africa. I feel like has completely taken over. And,
definitely. Man.
I don't.
I mean, when we were living in London, like a big thing for us was to try and get a CD in like this massive Virgin megastores. All of those closed down now. It's like, and even here, you know, look and listen. When was it? Last year, or the year before? And the last one shut down. It's like it's like hectic. And yeah, you're right. It happens so quick. It's like. So yeah, I mean, well, you're a muso. Have you recorded stuff for?
Yeah, and I mean. I'm busy with a new album, and I don't think I'm printing CDs.
You're not gonna print.
Because it makes no business sense.
Yeah,
for me specifically. Like I think it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But for me specifically, I just don't get the numbers of CD sales.
Yeah, no, business sense
it.
It makes absolutely none. But you know, we decided as a band we want this fucking thing.
Yeah.
You're swearing on this thing, right? So we went for it. But like you say, you know, it's one of those things that you're going to lose some money on that. But
like I considered. And I still haven't like completely written off the idea, but instead of going to a factory and getting 1,000 discs made or whatever, have some kind of crafty handmade thing and do like 50 copies or something and have it special and mark up the price a bit and but sort of for the 20 people who want a CD, go like. You want something physical and tangible? I'm going to give you something amazing. Yeah. That kind of idea too.
Yeah, and those things still sell at shows. Eh? I mean, I don't know how long that's going to last for, but you know, we sell the occasional CD at a gig, like people, and then people, you know, something for you to sign or whatever, like. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we did you can do tiny print runs. You know, we did like 500. We like cool. Let's see how far this goes. And there'll probably be like 300 sitting in the band room for the next 10 years. But yeah, like I said, it was purely a selfish thing. Like we wanted, you know, printed CDs.
No, I totally understand that. I think I feel the same. But I also I feel like I'm one of the last people who like buying CDs. And listening to CDs.
Oh, vinyls seem to be like quite a popular. A popular thing, but those are expensive, man.
Yeah, they're really expensive.
It's like insane.
And then again, it's a way bigger thing. You need to find a storage space for, and
it's breakable. Like and I mean, you think it's hard to buy a CD player these days? Try buy like a record player. It's like even. Yeah. So I don't know. The game's constantly changing, but.
Yeah, and I guess it's also it's based on when I grew up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because also at like university age, I realized there's a distinct difference between me and people a couple of years younger than me. Yeah. I still had music on tape.
Yeah.
and like just a couple of years later.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, and I think like technology is just crazy, man, and people fight it, you know. Like I remember how musicians fought the whole MP3 thing, you know, tooth and nail. And there was a long time when we thought, you know, it would never take off. And then, you know, in the space of a couple of years, the CD is dead.
Yeah, and that's also specifically MP3s as a format was, I feel like, iTunes is the thing that made it work.
Yeah, and there were other technologies that came and went. There was a thing. Do you remember mini discs?
There was tiny CD.
Yeah, it's like a miniature CD. It looked like a spy CD or whatever. Anyway, those were like all the rage when we were living in London, like just over 10 years ago. And that came and went in a year. And it was like, so who knows what the next thing is going to be? But yeah, there's no denying that, you know, music streaming and that's here to stay. Yeah. So I'm pretty impressed and intrigued that you're printing CDs. And, and also
maybe
it's
even
stupid, I don't know.
also even just making an album because that also feels like something that's
totally. It's, you know what, it's like it feels like the process for being in a band is getting more and more selfish as we go, you know. So it's like where you spend a big part of your career trying to guess what's going to work, and what's going to be successful and what people want. Eventually, you're like, even your biggest fan after 10 years, on a good day, is not going to care, or they will care very little what happened. Whereas whatever we do now, like this could be the last time we do it, and also this is our legacy. So we have to be 100% happy with what we're doing, and every decision we make is like, well, what do we want to do? And so what if people don't buy the CDs, or what if they don't like the new sound? You know what I mean? So maybe, maybe that's a bad thing, but I guess the older you get, the more you kind of realize it's okay to be a bit selfish and just do what makes you happy. Yeah.
And I also think in terms of art, and I think like this might not be everyone might not share this opinion, exactly. but I do kind of feel like you got to make what you want to make,
totally.
and you're probably gonna have the fans that stick with you through that's probably the better fans, the fans you actually want, rather than catering to them, just making something that's good and pure and
definitely
naturally attracting the people who like what you do.
Exactly. And then it's not forced, and it's not it's honest. So and then, that's what really bugged me about and you see it happen so often where like a band changes their sound, or they do something different, and then all their fans get all angry and whatever, and it's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like this last thing with Linkin Park, and how everybody like freaked out with their new album, and we're like, guys, it's different, but that's their album. If you want to write an album, go and write your fucking album, but don't come down hard on these guys, for doing what they're doing. Like it's
and there's also like, as much as people say that's what they want, I don't think you really want them to just make the same album over and over again.
Exactly, because then they would have complained as well. Like, people are just the worst. They're like, this is exactly the same as the last album. Well, fuck, what are you supposed to do?
No, and I also think that people complaining and people being like super critical about things they love is something that's also come up with the internet a lot. It's like it's so much easier for your opinion to be heard.
The internet's a horrible place at the moment. It's like it is a really depressing medium, I just find. And more lately, I've really been finding it hard to be on the internet, and like it's difficult because you have to be in touch and you have to know what's going on, but there's just so much shit out there and so much like hate, and it's just like this big ugly snowball that keeps going. It's like it's really depressing. So that's why whenever if you get a chance to sort of go away and switch off your cell phone for a week, it's like you come back so refreshed and like rejuvenated. Maybe the world's not going to end, but the internet.
No, but so new album. The previous one had a sense of like concept album, a theme throughout it. Do you think you're doing something similar this time?
I think those themes, they just kind of seem to happen naturally. If you're writing a bunch of songs together.
do you do that? Do you go, let's write an album?
Yeah. Well, okay. So for this one, it's difficult. There's kind of like the sort of inspiration phase and then the polishing phase. So the inspiration phase. I mean, people always ask what inspires you, and it's like, there's no inspiration. Is not like a planned thing that you look for. It just happens, and it can happen 10 times in a week, or it can happen 0 times in a year. So it's like it's the sporadic thing. But that's where the essence of a song comes, and it's like it's lightning quick. Like and the best songs take the least effort, I find. Yeah. So that's the initial idea, and that's the thing that you're driving along and you sing it into your cell phone, and it's like, cool, that's going to be great one day. So over the last sort of 6 years between albums, tons of those ideas. I mean, literally, I think every time you upgrade a cell phone or whatever, you literally lose hundreds of ideas because you just forget about them. But the really good ones, I hope, kind of find a way of sticking around. And even if it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, eventually they rise to the surface. So I had all these ideas on my phone. all these ideas on my computer that I kind of lay down, and those are just super basic, guitar and singing, like chords and a sing song or whatever. And then once you've kind of made the decision on those, then it's time to sort of sit with the band and like flesh them out and polish them and write lyrics and whatever. So because that second process of polishing, that does kind of happen a lot closer together. Then you kind of, lyrically anyway, have certain themes that start coming through, where you start linking the songs. And I think rather than consciously deciding, cool, we're going to make a superhero themed album. Okay, that's a terrible thing. It just happens because those are the things that are happening in your life at that point, and that's what you draw from and sing about. So yeah, it's definitely not a conscious thing, but I can see sort of, recurring things in the album. And I think that's because you're doing it in one shot, sort of over a couple of months or whatever. Yeah. And
so you also think that's to the benefit of the album to sit down and work on a big project rather than do the 10 singles over 10 years.
Yeah, because it also makes you consider everything that goes onto the album. Whereas if you have massive gaps between songs, they become very distinct, and it's not always a bad thing, but then it's this kind of hodgepodge patchwork of things that don't really sit together, which I'm not opposed to. Like I'm always like, people say, but the songs need to sit together as an album. I don't necessarily believe that. It's like a song must be its own thing, and if it works on its own, that's cool. But like, it doesn't hurt that they kind of flow to tell a kind of story over an album. So they again, and I think that sense of unity comes from sitting and working with them all together. Like I mentioned earlier, there was a temptation to take all those singles that we've done in the past couple of years and put them on an album. But if we did that and looked at them, they would be like very confusing to anyone listening to what is going on. There's a collaboration with Questa, then there's like a furious punk rock track. It's like, what are you doing here? So yeah, we toyed with that idea, but I think the way the songs sit at the moment on the album, we're very happy with.
And how much time do you spend on the track order? Just do you endlessly just rearrange them and do playlists and listen to them and go like, no, that's not working?
There's a lot of that, but at the end of the day, it's like a ridiculous process because we spend so much time as a band debating all these little things, and then for example, if you want to get into band debate, so your solo vibes, right? You should always keep on with that. It's so difficult to get anything done in a band.
There are a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah. So for example, we send the songs off to get mixed, and they come back, and there was this one particular song where we couldn't decide between like multiple versions of this mix, and we agonized it. And it was weeks of debate and voting and eventually we come to consensus on a particular mix that goes on the album. It's like, cool, that's the one, fantastic, everyone's happy finally. And then I accidentally uploaded the wrong mix to CD Baby, which distributes to everyone. So once you upload it, there's no turning back. And the way we picked it up is it's also on the CD, the wrong album version. And we'd agonized over this to the point where there'd been another mix engineer who had done it. So now we've credited the wrong mix engineer and everything on this printed CD. And, and I listened to the CD and I didn't even realize that it was the wrong mix. And somebody else picked it up and I was like, So the point is you think so hard about all this stuff and no one really cares at the end of the day. It's like, it doesn't matter what. The only kind of hard and fast rule we have is that sort of the most commercial song or the song that we think could do well on radio should be the third track. And I don't know why we came to that conclusion, but that's the only thing that we've stuck with over the years.
Wow.
So the first single is track number 3. Otherwise, I don't really care about the order.
That's an interesting rule.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I think we read it somewhere in like a blog and it just stuck. It's like,
oh yeah. I was also thinking it might also be a sort of a superstition kind of thing. Of like, well, it worked once. Let's keep doing that.
Yeah. maybe it's like okay, if you're gonna listen to an album cold, you might give the first 3 tracks, if you're a very diligent listener, a chance. But if you're not sold after the first 3 tracks, you're not going to waste another 9 or whatever it is of your time. So you better hook them by that 3rd one. Maybe that's it. I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, but there's also like I love opening tracks of albums because they also have a really specific job. Of introducing and
yes, and
capturing
funny
attention.
You should mention that.
But they're usually not a single.
Yes.
Or at least not the first single.
Yes, you are 100% right. So the only 2 that we were 100% sure which track we wanted to go first and 3rd, and everything else we were like, was just a big fat debate, and then eventually it was like whatever.
But then also like if you listen to the album and you didn't pick up that the wrong mix was there, that's okay.
It. Because I guess. Yeah, and I mean, like you say about making loads of playlists, and each playlist has its own thing that works really well, and it's like maybe we should do that, and it's like eventually you just get tired of playlists, so you end up on the last version and that's it. Yeah.
But like either way, even if you didn't do the playlist thing, I'm sure you've listened to that album a ton of times.
Yeah. It's tricky, man. Like by the time you finished recording it, you literally like, I can't even tell if this is even good anymore. You've heard it so many times. You just don't know. So what I like to do is once we've decided on the mixes and we've got the mixes back, then I don't listen to it until we get the printed version, and that at least gives you like a couple of weeks break from listening to different variations of mixes, and is the bass level right, and is the kick drum sound right, and then when you get that final CD back from the printers, then you listen to it again, and then it's like, okay, this is cool. So if you get it back then and you listen and you're like, ish, I'm not sure about this, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
But no, we're very stoked with the way it turned out. So.
And then touring time. Do you?
Yeah.
What's the plan there?
Well, that's the next challenge. Like everybody is super busy, so we've booked a launch show, which is on Friday the 6th of April in Joburg, and then we're supporting a band called Secrets that's coming out from the States at Arcade Empire, and then that's the next weekend, and then we've got 2 shows booked in Stellies in Cape Town. And then we're in talks with a certain festival that we haven't played in a while. But aside from that, we don't have much booked. So now it's so weird. You focus so hard on getting the CD out and the launch and all that, and then you forget, okay, now we need to tour this thing. So once we've got all that out the way, then we'll look at doing some more dates. But it's been quiet for us gigging wise for a long time now, so even 5 shows for us in a month is pretty big.
Yeah,
that's enough.
And already enough of a challenge to fit that into everybody's calendars.
Schedules and whatever. It's crazy. So we try to be quite selective about what gigs we play and what. But again, because we're not depending on it for a living, we don't have to play 3 times a week or 4 times a week or whatever it is. So
there's also an element of putting it out there and having fun and
totally
seeing where it lands.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see, and it's been cool. Like already, even without just on the release of the new video and whatnot, we're getting a lot of inquiries and things are picking up already. So hopefully, once the album's out and we've done all the press and whatever, that'll kind of take care of itself, and we'll just take it from there, see where it goes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm can't wait to see how it does and where it lands and
and
listen to it.
Yeah, it's scary for us, man. Like the weird thing with a new album is you record all these songs, but you very much you sit down and you're trying stuff in studio and whatever, and then you get to the end of the recording process, and then you're like, okay, so we're launching an album on the 6th of April. We've got to play these songs, and then you realize you actually don't know how to play the songs at all.
Yeah.
So literally for the last month, we've been listening and we're like, what did I do in that part? Sort of relearning the stuff that you learned. I mean, that you recorded, so that you can play it live. So we haven't played any of these songs live. It could tank spectacularly. But
I hate to say this, but there's a tiny part outside me that kind of hopes that happens, and then it'll be a spectacle.
Yeah, it will be, and you can.
And hey, people will be talking about it.
Exactly, no publicity is bad publicity. But so it's Friday is very close, and we've got 2 more practices before the launch, and it's going to be interesting, man. We'll be looking at people's faces to see their reactions. But I think a massive difference as well, also why we're pretty scared to play these songs live for the first time, is that our approach to writing for this album has been very different, which is I think why we ended up with such a different sound. So for example, in the past we've always been heavily focused on live. So when we write a song, we get in the band room and we're like, how does this feel to play live? Cool, that tempo is great, we're just slamming it out, this is a lot of fun to play, which is great. But the problem with that is as soon as a song's maybe like a chilled song or a slow song, or maybe the guitar part you play in that particular song isn't the most enthralling thing to play, then you want to scrap that song and move on to something that's more fun to play. Whereas this album, we did everything in studio. So we recorded purely based on what does it sound like, not is this fun to play live. So we think the songs sound cool, but to play live, there's a lot of slow jams on this album. So it's going to be like standing up there, kind of strumming, patiently, which is something very different for us. So we'll see. It's going to be fun.
I definitely now can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what it turns out like.
Yeah, there might be some horrific videos on YouTube circulating on Saturday. We'll deal with that if that happens. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be cool. It's going to be scary, but it'll be cool.
Cool. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you so much, Forrest.
Okay, you obviously know to go listen to CrashCarBurn's new album. If you're listening to this on Friday the 6th of April, the album launch is tonight at Stanley Beard Yard in Joburg. You can go catch it. Otherwise, look out for their shows. Their album's obviously out on streaming platforms and whatever, but also, as you heard, on CD. If you're old school like me, go get yourself a CD. Of course, as always, if you like this podcast, tell your friends about it. Subscribe to it. Go like it. It's on iTunes and Stitcher and all the things where podcasts are found. So go like, go subscribe, go add a rating and a review or comment, those kind of things. Not only make me feel all good and special inside, but it helps other people see it and find it and stuff. So if you like what you're hearing, please go do something like that about it. Otherwise, go check out our blog at theflow.co.za, like our page on Facebook, all the usual things. And while you're doing that, I'll go work on the next podcast, so you've got another something to listen to in a couple of weeks. Goodbye.